Hey, sorry. Oh, I can't hear you yet. Now I think I can. Wait.
Yeah.
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh God, you're gonna look like a huge nerd. Okay, this for some reason your mic is laggy on my side.
Right now.
Yeah, like I can barely hear you. Maybe it's hold on.
Let me
Let me
try.
try let me try rejoining. Give me a minute. Give me 1 minute.
Dad, can you pass the wired headphones? Thanks. Thank you. Okay. See you.
Okay. Oh, yes. Yes. Thank you. It's under your name.
There we go. Now I can hear you. Did you have the AirPods in before?
Yeah, I switched them, but I
I
don't
was
know
gonna
if
say,
it was that or.
I think the batteries were dying because I just tried calling V and it was perfectly fine.
Oh, okay.
You can't see me. Hold on.
No.
Okay, now you
There
can
we
see.
go.
Okay, so I just got a message like probably 10 minutes ago. Ziad couldn't make it.
No worries.
Something came up at home, so it's just the two of us.
Do you want to reschedule or you
No, no,
want
no,
to
no,
just
no.
chat now?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm not too sure what happened on his side, but he just said he can't make it. My bad. Blah 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 blah. So
No problem.
um, I'm still good. I got one more point that I want to just put in here so I don't forget it.
Yeah. Go for it.
All right,
You good?
where we go.
All right. Well, I kind of want to let you start off because
Me to start.
you reached out to me. So
Okay,
thank
okay.
you for doing that.
No worries. I got you. Um, yeah. So I don't know, man. I've been having a lot of conversations with the guy who couldn't make it today, unfortunately, about like the free market and then just like regulating big corporations and how it could like affect decisions that are made on a day-to-day basis. And I feel like there's like a bunch of different views. One thing that we were like stuck on is like who should make these decisions, like who should these decisions be in favor for, people that are profiting off of the companies, or should it be in favor of like just society as a whole? So that's like a huge debate that me and Ziad have been having over the past couple of weeks. And then like
Interesting.
with this Trump ban kind of popping up, that's like a prime example of like who's making these decisions, like who dictates these decisions, like does it really make sense, are we gonna continue in this direction moving forward? So like I don't know, I just have a bunch of questions on that front, and I figured who better to go to than
Yeah. Let's chat.
for some opinions and some and whatnot. um but
What
yeah.
What are your thoughts on that piece? That's an interesting piece that you said, where let's say you were to have a poll, you were to ask people if they think Trump should be removed from Twitter.
Yeah.
So like you said, you could do the major, you could poll like the shareholders of Twitter. You could poll the general U.S. public. You could poll all Twitter users. Like, what's the fair way to do it? Do you think that you could go based on like a majority vote, like whoever vote? whatever the majority is, if it's yes or no? You think you could do it? Is that a fair way to do it?
I don't know. I think it boils down to who you think like should be who these corporations should be in favor of.
Mm-hmm.
And like should they be in favor of, you know, like making the best dollars for people that are on these platforms, or should they be in the business of just doing anything and everything to like make a sustainable profit but also benefit like society at a whole level. Like a part of me wants like feels like it's logical to just like whatever makes most sense for the business is the direction that you should take, and I feel like that makes sense in the short term, but I question like how sustainable it becomes from like a society perspective, like long term. um so yeah, that's I honestly I'm so like in the middle right now. I'm not too sure where I kind of stand with everything. I think like let me try to think of some like some points that I do agree with for this Trump ban and like why he should be banned for like the specific circumstance
Yeah.
is because I think that like if you look at the stuff that, and I can't like quote it like word for word off the top of my head, but he's just like kind of showing support and like love to all the people that were, you know, in these rallies and protests, and like not he wasn't directly saying like, oh, like go out and do this, like I support you, but he was also like dismissing it and making it seem like it wasn't like crazy what these people did over the past
After
couple.
they stormed the Capitol, well,
Exactly.
at first I think he put out a couple tweets saying
Yeah.
like, you know, don't attack the Capitol, don't don't attack like law enforcement. But then he released a video where he said something. It was something like, he's like, I know you're hurt. It was a stolen election. Everyone knows it was stolen.
Mhm.
He says like we can't. He said something like we can't be violent, but I love you. You're special people. He's talking to like the people who just stormed the Capitol. You know,
Right.
killed an officer, like destroyed. Yeah.
But like
So
do
he
you
fueled
like
the fire. Like
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Like he's not directly saying go out and do this, but he's like
inciting
making
violence
exactly,
indirectly. Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
so like I don't know, I'm no lawyer, but like technically speaking, like he like he's not directly doing it. So I feel like for that reason, I kind of question whether or not he should be. He just so happens to be a person that has like a huge platform and people that like ride or die for him, literally.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where like the issue is for this specific instance, and where it becomes a huge issue in the long term. But like technically right now, like there's lots of people that do and say worse things but don't have the following.
So let's say you're Twitter, you're the head of Twitter, right? And you're Jack Dorsey. You don't know what to do. You don't know whether to ban him. Um, and you want to ask like the Twitter user base. So you go out on like Jack Dorsey or on like the Twitter account and say like, should we ban Trump? Yes or no? And you poll everyone. Two questions for you. One, what do you think? What do you think there ends up being more of?
what
Yes or
what
no?
direction it goes in? Yeah,
Yeah, and
I
then
think it, yeah.
and then also, do you think that's like a fair way to actually make a decision like that?
Okay, so first answer is I think it goes in favor of like banning Trump.
Yeah. What
Because
percentage?
I think you had a
What's your
point.
guess?
My guess, I kind of saw the percentage, so now I would go off that. But
Where?
I think, well, didn't you mention something similar to that on the? Anyways, if I was to guess, I would say probably like maybe like an 80-20 split, like a little bit lower than that.
Interesting.
Maybe 70 to 80% of the people that are on Twitter are like
In favor? You think would be in favor
would
of
be in
banning it?
favor of getting rid of Trump,
Yeah.
because I don't know. I feel like or Twitter is a pretty like future forward platform. People have like, for the most part, generally speaking, like a little bit more open minded and whatnot. And I think you have to be in a certain place to be in Twitter to begin with.
It skews
Um,
younger. Like it's a young, like younger
exactly.
than the average population, and younger people tend to vote more for Biden than Trump.
Right. Right. So I think that that's where it would skew. And then the second question was, do I think that's fair?
Yeah.
No, because you're not. Well, oh, okay, no. So instant response would be no because you're not getting like a fair read on like the general population. But what you are getting is a fair read on like Twitter's population. So like you should, you know what I mean? Tend to the people that are on the platform, not in like a certain country. So,
What I think.
geez, yeah, yeah. I do you think that's the approach they took? How do you think that they handled it?
From what I hear,
Yeah.
um, there was like a lot of Twitter employees like put together a petition type of thing, and were like, really upset, and pushed Twitter leadership to do it.
Mhm.
So I
So
know that they didn't make the decision based on polling the Twitter users. Like they didn't do that.
yeah, that was the thing. That would be so cool though. Imagine like you log into Twitter and it says like, should we ban Trump? Yes, no. And it's like it just gets bumped all the way to
That'd
the
be really cool.
and that would be a cool way for them to like justify like, hey, this is what the people wanted on our platform. Maybe that's the
Yeah,
approach they
that's
should have taken.
democracy, right? Like,
Yeah, no, agreed. Maybe that's the approach that they should have taken because then they could be like, listen, like we get that this isn't what the states want, but Twitter isn't limited to the states, and this is what Twitter
you guys
wants.
want. We can't
Yeah,
make everyone happy, but this is the majority.
yeah,
So, but yeah, to answer your question, how they made the decision, I feel like Twitter leadership, the people who work for Twitter,
yeah.
they voiced their opinion, and they made a decision based on that, and based on I read the thing on how they interpreted some of Trump's tweets and how they violated the terms of service. One of them is around glorifying violence, it's called.
Hmm.
And pretty much Trump, essentially the day after Trump said, like, he called them patriots, which, like, you can read the Twitter thing, but pretty much they felt that calling these people patriots like glorifies violence, encourages them to do stuff like this again. And there were a few other things like continuing to, oh, he said he's not going to go to the inauguration, right? So continuing to say that,
You're acting like a kid at that point. Like
yeah,
grow up. Like you could be a grandfather. You probably are a grandfather. Like what are you doing? Like you've been around for generations. Like take your L, go to the inauguration. You're so pro states in America. Go support your country no matter what the result is. Like, come on, man.
yeah,
Crazy. Like
yeah.
so quick side note there. Like calling them patriots and stuff like that. Have you heard of the Proud Boys, that like Trump support group?
I've heard of the term Proud Boys. I assume it's just like super racist white guys.
You know that the founder of the Proud Boys is actually from Ottawa.
No way.
Yeah, how crazy is that? This guy went to the States and is just a, I don't know, wild
Are
guy.
they like, so they're an official, like they call themselves the Proud Boys. Like Trump has used the name Proud Boys.
Yeah, he said it a couple times. Like he's referred to them like, oh, like my dear Proud Boys, like just like gives them shout outs from what I've seen on a couple YouTube videos, which is like absurd.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, so the one thing that what you just said around like hearing that Twitter likely got their execs to make this decision and they
Yeah.
had like the petitions and stuff like that, like that's a like a issue and it's like maybe this isn't like actually how it played out, but I would think like a factor that would be put into this decision is like if we have all of these people, like think of your leadership, right?
Yeah.
We have all of these people that are working for me that are petitioning like I'm against Trump being on Twitter. If we don't do something about it, they're likely their like move is like I'm out. I'm gonna go work for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are like replaceable, but I think that Twitter also has staff that is like, you know, like super up there. So that's like the decision is probably like, okay, like whether we like it or not, like if we don't do this, we have a lot of people that do a lot around Twitter that will leave and then what? Like I'm sure there's a lot of maintenance and stuff that goes into running Twitter on a daily basis, right? If you have a good percentage of people that
Just
work for
walk
you
away,
just
yeah.
walk away. Do you know how much like trouble
Yeah.
that's a lot. And
Yeah.
Twitter's a big company too, so that would be like crazy. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's where it becomes a little bit problematic because they're like making decisions based off of like strictly the bottom line and making money and not being in a hard place in terms of business and maybe not necessarily thinking about the long term.
Yeah. I'm interested to see where this goes. If more people get banned, like more, prominent Trump supporters who pretty much say the same things as him. They're just not the president.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what happens with them. I'm curious if there ends up being like, an alternative Twitter for these people. Like have you heard about Parler?
I heard about that. I just started trying to listen to podcasts recently, and anyways, one of the podcasts they mentioned, okay, like, are you guys worried that after this ban you're gonna see like X percentage of users like not be engaged and go to platforms like Parlor, like you had mentioned? And I was like, what is Parlor? I've never heard of that before, but I'm guessing it's just like literally just like Twitter, but a much smaller niche crowd. Like, what?
Yeah.
Have you heard of it before? Have
I
you?
hadn't. I hadn't until like this week. So I downloaded the app. It's all these Trump supporters on there.
Oh
I didn't
my.
really. The app was like kind of hard to use, but I think Apple's taking them out of the App Store, and I think their servers are AWS, like Amazon, and Amazon's taking them away. So like, they're all these guys. They're just getting shut down. So I'm curious, like, what's going to happen with Trump? Is he going to be able to get a voice in like, once he's no longer president? He probably wants his own like TV show or something like that. I wonder if what's
So,
going to happen.
yeah. So what? Well, where's the like the free speech in that? I feel like the state's like whole thing is like free speech, like opportunity. Everyone can do what they can to be like their best selves. And if you have like all of these big corporations that are like for the most part like anti-Trump and liberals and stuff like that, like you're gonna end up having um certain platforms like not have an opportunity at all. Like you were just saying, like, okay, these people decide we're gonna go to Parlor. They can't even go to Parlor because Parlor is just being destroyed because all of the entities above Parlor that can help them be what they want to be or have the platform they want to have are just like not for it. So it's like
Yeah,
that's a little bit backwards. And I would argue that that probably just creates like more divide and like inequality like years and years and years down the road because there's lots of great things that come out of social media, I think, as much as there are bad. But if they don't have access to that just because of their views, then that seems like a little backwards.
yeah, I agree. I don't know where this is headed.
Huh. How do you even sell Parlor?
P,
Parler?
yeah.
That's craziness.
I think before this, there was a site called Gab. Have you heard of it?
Oh.
Similar thing. Um,
Hmm. What was I gonna say? Parlor app, Amazon. Yeah.
so
So one of my friends, or I think you mentioned it too, like around like the like, are we gonna start to get to a state where we just start banning like anyone and everyone just based off of like polarizing views and stuff like that?
yeah,
My friend just took to like Facebook saying like he disagrees with the Trump ban, and I was just like kind of I like just direct message him, be like, oh, like what's going on, like what's up, like can I hear like a little bit more about like why you disagree with it?
yeah,
Anyways, one of the points that he brought up was like he thinks that it's unfair because like these political parties and stuff like that are starting to fight for like regulation of companies when it's like in their favor. And there's Trump's banned, but and this is in the States. This is a problem that's in the States. There's plenty of other countries and stuff like that across the world where there have been like people with huge platforms that say even worse stuff and incite even more violence, but aren't banned because it doesn't directly impact the states.
Yeah, I've seen
North
people saying
America.
that stuff too. So I've tried to look into it a bit, but I haven't. Did they give specific examples? Like I need to see, of like certain Twitter accounts that exist today where people are saying worse stuff.
Yeah, I didn't get the chance to ask him that question. But he's Venezuelan, and I'm like there's a lot of crazy stuff from what I hear that's going on in Venezuela.
Yeah,
He's like super active on like Twitter and social media and stuff like that. And so I think that he's like a relatively credible source, but no, he didn't share any specific like accounts, but I can only imagine that like, there probably are instances where there's politicians that say certain things and then, results in something happening in this place, but because it doesn't directly impact the states, it just doesn't get as many eyes and it just kind of goes as like, oh, whatever, this person's utilizing this platform.
yeah. Like if that's true, it seems like an issue, right?
Yeah,
Like it
100
shouldn't matter where you are if you're, causing violence.
100%. And so for that reason, I feel like if you are going to commit to, starting to, ban like political figures that have these like um, polarizing views that aren't in favor of the execs of these companies, then you should do it across the board or not do it at all.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, like we were saying earlier, Twitter spans a lot more borders than just North America, right? Like there's a lot of places that utilize Twitter and probably run into the same issues and would benefit, I would think, from yeah,
Yeah.
crazy stuff that's going on. I honestly don't know where I stand with it.
Do you?
What? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you think it's an issue that like, from what I've seen, for like Twitter, Facebook, Google,
Yeah.
their employees tend like the majority of them, like 75% plus,
Yeah.
would have voted for like Biden over Trump. Versus like if you look at the election, somehow 49% of the US voted for Trump.
Wait, okay,
Like
sorry. Say that again. So there's 75% of Twitter users what claim they would have
employees.
voted. Oh, employees.
So when I looked, I found this source that pretty much shows like, I don't know how they get the data, but it shows like um the amount of money that went towards like the Democratic campaign versus Republican campaign and donations from Twitter employees, from Facebook employees, from Google employees. For Twitter, it was like 88% of some of the donations went towards Biden and the Democrats in the past election, and like 12% went towards. So pretty much what I'm saying is like the employees do not represent the US population in the sense that 49% of the US population voted for Trump in the election, but probably only like 10% of Twitter employees voted for Trump in the election. And I just wonder, like, is that a problem? Like, I don't know.
So I get what you're saying. Would you consider, well, you're asking, is it a problem? I think it's a bit of a problem because then you end up creating like biases, maybe like just when like throughout your workflow.
Yeah.
So like and like the one thing that I always think about for these types of things, especially, and I think we've talked about this before, is like the ways in which like people get like targeted like tweets and like the type of information and stuff that people see online. So like oh wait, actually no, I guess that wouldn't affect that.
No, but you bring up a good point around like, I think maybe this is where you're going, but like
Yeah.
in a workplace, you want diversity.
Yeah.
And there's different types of diversity. One type of diversity is, I guess, like, I don't know, do you need, like I
Do you
think
need
most
to have
people
an equal
agree
playing field?
most people agree you want gender diversity, ethnicity, like racial diversity, right? Most people
Mhm.
would agree with that. But political diversity, do you need that? Or like I think there's value in having different um,
Opinions and stuff like
opinions,
that. Yeah.
but most of the opinions personally of Trump voters that I've come across, they don't make sense to me. So I don't necessarily want that, but maybe I'm ignorant to that,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
No, okay. So to that point, I think that it's definitely beneficial to have like people around you working that will challenge your ideas and force you to think in like perspectives that you wouldn't be able to come up with on your own.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, like I think that that would be like a huge benefit to have that like split, because then that would kind of breed, I would think, like more and more like innovation and compromises to have like a fair platform for people like across the world that just have different views. Whereas if you have people that work or that have views like pro Trump or whatever, like a certain view, or anti Trump, sorry, then you're going to end up having a platform that would breed, I would think, maybe subconsciously like breeds more and more of that, and that could be an issue, I would think.
but let's say like it's probably higher than this, but let's say like 5% of the US is like, super racist people,
Mm-hmm.
white supremacists. That doesn't mean I want 5% of my workforce to be super racist. I don't want any.
But I think there's a medium. Like I think that like yes, there's like radicals, but I would say that there might be radicals on like both sides of
Yeah,
the spectrum, right?
yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, I don't know. I think it would be good to have a fair split, but maybe not like a fair split of people that could potentially have like super intense views that would hurt society. I don't know, but like how do
Is
you even go about gauging that? Like that would be such a tough thing to like would you start asking, so like let's think through that process. Like how would that work from like a hiring perspective? Would you just start asking people like what kind of views you have in terms of politics?
It's a good question. I don't know. I
That
mean,
would
you
be
you could.
wild. I think there's also a lot of people that just don't know, like me, to be completely honest with you, half the time I don't know what the fuck's going on. So like like that like then you're relying on so many people to just be up to date on like anything and everything that's happening. And not that that's a lot to ask for, but like it's time consuming, and not anyone and everyone is willing to be brushed up on those types of things. So then you
Is it
might, that's that.
is it wrong to say that like Biden voters who voted for Biden would be on average more educated, like based on the data, than Trump supporters? Like, I'm pretty sure they run all this census data. So like I think they know like what percentage of people who voted for Biden have a college degree
Mhm.
versus what percentage of people who voted for Trump.
I would feel like maybe like now in the past couple like decades, 2 decades or so, that would be the case.
Yeah.
But I think like 1900s to like 19 like 70s or 60s or whatever, it would be vice versa, and people that are like maybe like a little bit more like capitalists and have those more um conservative views that would have been more conservative. But I think since like the introduction of the internet, that might have like shifted a little bit. That's
Here,
what,
like I'll share my screen.
is there stats around that? Is that a
I
fact?
think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a fact. One sec.
No worries.
Oh, I need to.
Mm-hmm.
I think it says. One sec. Can you see? So
Right.
this here,
Okay, let
I'm
me
pretty
full
sure
screen
this
this.
is like legit research. Like it's not
Among
debated.
validated voters in 2016, wide gap among whites by education.
So like here, college grad. Like look at Clinton versus Trump.
Okay, call it. Oh wow.
like the spread's huge compared to, at the top. Can you see my mouse?
Yeah. I can see it moving.
So, assuming this data is legit, I'm pretty sure it's like fairly considered legit. I guess where I was going with this is like maybe that's why, like if and that's not to say there aren't Trump voters who aren't well educated, but maybe this explains part of it is like
Also, like interesting thing to look at is the like spread for minorities and how like there's just such a big divide.
here.
Yeah, like minorities and stuff like that are predominantly voting for
Yeah, because he's
Clinton,
racist.
right? No, but that's like it shouldn't be like that.
What do you mean?
Like it should be like you have political views, but your political views aren't like um polarizing to the point where you skew towards a certain race.
But like he's like very
Right. No, I know that that's the reality of it and that's how it
yeah.
is, but like I don't think that it should be that way. Like I don't
Oh, I
know.
know. You'd hope that there wasn't a difference between races.
Yeah, but that's the case,
Yeah.
which is crazy. What else is there? College grad, non-college grad, among whites, college grad.
I'll have to pull it up. I like there's one that I came across that's like way more detailed than this, like really cool stuff. Um
Like down to the like salaries and stuff like that.
yeah, like all sorts of stuff.
Okay, so do you think that these people that are like, like super educated and making a bunch of money and this, that, and the fourth are like actually operating at like uh operating to like benefit like society from a long-term perspective, or do you think that they're just smart people that are lining their pockets in the short term and doing shit that's gonna destroy what's going on?
Do you mind repeating or what
Okay.
do you mean by that?
Yeah. Sorry, I think I went a little quick there.
No, it's okay.
So what did I even say? So we're talking about the educated split between Clinton and Trump. Majority of the people being educated. Oh, okay. So do you think that the people that have these like super high salaries and education and stuff like that are actually like their morals and views and the way that they operate on a daily basis is to like actually do things and make money that's going to benefit like society in the long term, or do you think that this like education and the money that they make right now is just short term and like it's going to destroy us in the long term? Not destroy us, but like it's not beneficial like it.
I'm trying to see. I don't think I fully understand.
Fully get it. Okay, it's all good. Well, I'll try to think of a better way to formulate, then I'll ask it again.
Okay. There is some other stuff going on here. This is by religion.
What's this? Pew Research? Are you on this website frequently?
I've been on it before.
The demographic profiles of Trump and Clinton voters varied dramatically. Interesting. Oh no, I got this whole thing full screen. I wanted to see.
But look at this. Oh no,
Yeah.
this is white. This is white. Yeah, 63% of. This says 63% of Trump voters were non-college white people.
Huh.
Oh, here's some income stuff. Actually, I don't really know how to interpret this on the spot. Plus, it won't.
75% or more, 30 to.
But I don't know what
than,
voters,
wow.
non-voters means.
Oh, okay. Oh, maybe it's like in like non-voters. Oh, I think it just means people that just aren't voting, like for a party at all.
Oh,
like not reaching the polls.
Okay. Wow. So look how much it indexes for white people. Like minorities are not voting. They're being suppressed, or they're like for some reason they're not being accurately represented. I didn't
Right.
realize this. Like I know, or at least I hear always that, minority votes are being suppressed.
Hmm.
This is the evidence, right?
Oh, that's another thing that's like wild about this. I like maybe this is BS, but I feel like somewhere in the midst of all this crazy tweets and social posts, I saw that the reason why these people like stormed the Capitol to begin with is so that they could like destroy some sort of votes or something like that. Does that ring a bell or does that?
Yeah, like I don't fully know the deep I don't fully understand it, but from what I do understand, they were like certifying the election results
Mm-hmm.
that day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they were trying to like stop that, or that was part of it.
Yeah.
But from what I hear, there was nothing they could actually do to like stop the results.
Hmm.
Um,
That the picture, and now I'm remembering it now. The picture that I saw was like, oh, the real heroes in the situation are the people that worked at Capitol and were able to secure these votes that I guess to your point were still being certified from being like completely like ruined or tarnished. And I don't know if that would like actually happen if they were like burned or like
Destroyed. Oh yeah, I
what,
saw something about that too.
right? Like would that throw things off like completely?
I don't know.
Like, and if so, then like that's an example of just like I don't know, people. Yeah, that's that's messed up. That's messed up. And things like that is like the reason why I'm like, okay, get this guy off of Twitter because he's got people doing some stuff, crazy stuff. But also like how in the world are we still, and I know that we're kind of going to like a completely different um like subject here, but voting and like being on paper and stuff like that, like what do you think about that? Do you think that that's like too old school and we shouldn't be doing that stuff and we should like transition to digital ASAP, or do you think that there's a problem in transitioning to digital and maybe that like race gap would be even higher?
Hmm. It's a good question. So I'm not an expert, but I've
Yeah.
also wondered, like, it's 2020. How are we not voting on the computer? Especially like people, like I hear reports, people waiting like hours in line, like crazy stuff. And if you have to wait hours in line, a lot of people are like, like they can't do that. They have
Not
to,
work.
take
Yeah.
care of their kids, go to work, so they leave and they don't get to vote. And like from what I hear, that could be happening in areas where, they're trying to prevent certain people from voting, right? Like they might purposely, not have enough people staffed or stuff like that. So the main reason I've heard as to why it's not done online is that there's more chances of it being like hacked or compromised the vote. I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't thought about, or I hadn't heard the piece that you said around maybe it leads to kind of worse turnout or access for certain minority groups or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's an issue too. Um, 1 minute washroom break.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Thanks.
No worries.
Sorry about that.
No, all good.
Do you want to try asking me again? I'll try. Do you remember like the thing I made you repeat and I still
Yeah. No, I let's I'm gonna like I've still got it in my head. I'm thinking about it
Okay.
in the back of my head, but no, not
Okay.
ready to re-ask it yet.
Okay, no worries.
There was something else I was just that my friend said that was like I thought was interesting, and I want to hear your take on it.
Yeah.
He was talking about what was it? Sorry, give me a
Yeah, no rush.
momento here.
People listening right now, they can do some, meditation in the meantime. Take some
Check
deep
out for a
breaths.
minute. Be present.
Yeah.
Whatever they want to put. Okay, so I think he was talking about just like whether or not corporations like social media platforms and tech and stuff like that should be private or like public. So like public in the sense like it's like the government runs it and regulates like costs and just the way that the business operates and I don't know other decisions like
Interesting.
that.
Yeah.
So the one thing that got me thinking is like, okay, let's just say like we switch things completely to that like model and um like social media platforms are ran by the government and then we have like certain people banned. Okay, but what happens if we do the same thing for like the actual infrastructure that runs these social media platforms? So like as an example, like like AWS and all of these servers and stuff like that. Then your his point there was then what ends up happening is you have like zero information on like other opinions and views that may or may not exist.
So sorry. Okay, the first piece was like, what if there was a Twitter that was government owned, right?
Yep,
And then
exactly.
what was the second piece?
So say we have a Twitter that's government owned and we have a certain party that's in office and they decide okay, we're going to suppress all of these
Oh,
different things on our platform, right?
yeah.
But let's just say the next step, I guess, would be like in terms of like tech and stuff like that, would be the infrastructure that like Twitter and all of these platforms run on. If they have that same like public ownership and like regulation and stuff like that, then they could easily be okay, like zero information on this, certain view or whatever will be available to anyone.
Okay. Huh. I'd never thought about like a government owned social media platform before. I'd thought about like a nonprofit social media platform and like if that would have any different results. Because I've thought about it in the sense that, at least for me, like one of the issues with social media is like the ad, my beef with advertising.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to, like, because they're a for-profit company, they got to make more money. They got to sell more ads, which means they got to keep me on there as long as possible. Like that creates this issue where now I'm literally on Twitter like 5 hours a day. I'm hooked.
Is that's your
I'm
app of
addicted.
choice? That's your app of choice
Yeah,
is
I'm
Twitter?
addicted. I'm addicted.
It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay.
But I wonder, like, would I be this addicted if it was a nonprofit? Like, if they didn't have the profit incentive, maybe they would be. I don't know. I don't know if it
Yeah,
would make a difference.
I
Maybe it
think
wouldn't.
I think it would make a complete difference because there's the Netflix, I forget what it's called. There's like a Netflix documentary movie
The Social Dilemma.
Exactly, the social dilemma. And like you see how they do such a good job of like painting the picture about how like all of these platforms main goal and intent is to make make you engaged. Like they do anything and everything that they can to make sure that your eyes are on the screen because it's more money in their pockets, right?
Yeah.
Where as if it's like if it's a nonprofit, they're not making money. They don't have these absurd quotas. They don't need to like
Grow.
they might compete to compete, but they're not competing with like the risk of like losing their job or like losing a bunch of money, right? So I think if that's the case, then yeah, a result of that is we don't end up having these, I don't know, platforms that are as engaging and make us want to be on there like every single minute and get the likes and stuff like that. But you know what would actually be like interesting is if they just got rid of um likes and
Likes.
follower counts for political figures. So let's say um, you're Trump, for example. Okay, you go to make your Twitter profile, and it asks you a bunch of questions. One of those questions is, "Are you a political figure?" He puts up yes, obviously. It automatically like blanks out his follower count, blanks out the ability to like, retweet, this, that, and the fourth. And then the people that see his content aren't like getting that like social validation on tweets. So like if he says something crazy, they see it and then I would think that they might put more thought into what he's saying if there's not like they don't see like 59,000 likes
Oh,
and retweets and stuff like that. They might be like, "Oh, like well, this is pretty crazy," as if Trump's saying that. And then they might like actually start digging for like their own information rather than just being like, "Oh, like, well, these 60,000 people that follow Trump think it's great. I think it's great too." You know what I mean?
especially since there's no dislike button. So you
Right.
don't know how many people disliked it. You just see 200,000 people like this racist tweet from Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So what okay, so what do you think about one option is you said no likes.
Yeah.
Another option is you add dislikes.
Mm-hmm. Mm. No, I think that it's like just nothing at all, like
Nothing at
just
all.
a tweet, and like you have the ability to see this person's perspective and thoughts, because as soon as you start putting like likes and dislikes, it like throws things like I don't know that if that's the case, then I think um oh what would happen?
Well,
But that's
YouTube.
yeah
I did a podcast episode on this
okay
because YouTube has likes and dislikes. And I had a conversation where I was like, should Twitter have a dislike button too?
and what was the verdict or what was your opinion for that?
Oh, I can't even remember what the verdict was, but I do. Some of the things that came up is that I definitely like that YouTube has a like and dislike button.
Mm-hmm.
Like I definitely use that a lot when I go to a video, especially if I'm looking for like, I don't know, a tutorial on something, like how to fix a computer issue. If
Yeah.
I go on and like there's like a ton of dislikes, like there's more dislikes than likes on a fixing my computer tutorial, it's obviously shit.
Yeah.
But the issue with it is sometimes it's not a good indication. For instance, like you could go on like one of Trump's like let's say there's a super or like a super racist person has a YouTube page.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on their videos, it's gonna have a ton of likes. It's gonna have more likes than dislikes. That's just because like no normal people are looking at it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that does make sense. But what I was gonna say for Twitter especially, and maybe you agree with this, I feel like outrageous tweets travel pretty quick too.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah,
people share stuff just because it's like, wow, look at this guy's crazy opinion.
yeah.
And then that would like let's say like Trump tweets like, yeah, okay, X% of his followers just are Proud Boys and like it. And then like X% of all of Twitter sees this but don't follow him and then dislike it. Does that like um like I feel like that like personal opinion, I think that like split might make like a little bit more divide and like, oh, these people don't like it, they're crazy, like a little bit more divide.
Oh, yeah. I can see
um
that.
yeah, that's what
I can
that's
see that.
that's that's what I think that would end up like resulting in, and
Yeah.
why I would prefer to just have no likes, no dislikes, but only for people that are like political
Interesting.
figures. And that could be cool. I wonder if that would be something that could play out. I feel like we're starting to see it now with not likes and stuff like that, but we're starting to see a lot more ads and stuff around politics and stuff like that. Like when I've just in the past go to set up like campaigns on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, it asks you like, does your campaign have anything to do with like elections or this
Oh,
or
really?
that? Yeah. And mine never, obviously mine don't. So like I haven't really found out what happens if they do, but I'm assuming they probably just don't get posted if that's the case.
Right. Or
So
that goes through some process, like
yeah,
some
like a
rigorous process.
manual validation process or something like that.
Let's talk about some of your questions. Does Trump have a burner account now, or did he cry when he found out?
I definitely think he cried, man. I
You
think
think he
he,
cried?
I don't know if he cried. I feel like he's an angry type of person. Like I think he's the type of person that's like and just starts like punching stuff and
Yeah, I
maybe
bet he
gets
was
like
angry too, and
yeah,
also like had like withdrawal symptoms. Like it's a drug for him. The amount he uses Twitter, he's probably
100%.
shaking.
That's true. Think about that. So like you said, and like you said jokingly, like I'm addicted to social media, but like anyone and every like a lot of people are these days, and it's hard to just like up and quit social media cold turkey. And we're people that like don't have like millions and gazillions of followers and likes on all of our tweets. Imagine being Trump, um, and like anytime you put something out, you have all this support, you feel all this love. Like
It's
imagine
all
the rush
gone.
that he gets when he tweets. He's like all these people, yeah, Trump, 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 like in the back of his head. He doesn't get that anymore. He
I can't
doesn't get his
imagine.
fix. He's probably going crazy. He's
Yeah,
like going to Melissa. Tell me you love me. Tell me you love me. You like my views. What do you think of this? I know you love it. Say it. Say it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's probably going nuts. I'd love to be a fly on the wall and wherever he stayed at these days. Um or wait, is he allowed on Parlor? Is he on Parlor? Does he have a Parlor account?
I don't know if he has a Parler account, but if they're not shut down, I'm pretty sure they've either already been shut down or are in the process of being shut down.
Okay.
What
Do I what's that? Go ahead.
I was gonna ask you, like, I'd be curious to know.
Yeah.
Like I said, 49% of the US voted for Trump. It was 51% Biden,
Yeah.
49% Trump. I'm curious, like, if you were to do a revote right now,
Mm-hmm.
how does it change given all this stuff that's happened? Like, do you think a decent number of these Trump supporters have been like, wow, he crossed the line, like I'm switching over? Or do you think it's still like, almost
Yeah.
50-50?
I don't know. It's a good
I
question.
hope I would hope that he lost. I would hope that he lost a decent chunk of his base who was like, this guy's too crazy for me now.
Yeah.
But I guess regardless, a certain portion of his base even love him now even more or like obsessed.
Right. So that was, I think my question there was going to be like, do you think that the amount of people that were like kind of on the edge about Trump and like all of this stuff that has been happening outweighs the people that like didn't make it to the polls and didn't vote just because they thought that they had it in the bag? Because I think that there's a lot of people in the States, especially, that are really probably pro Trump and probably just don't like do anything about it. Just think that it's going to happen and roll with the punches if it do. Um, but yeah, that's a super good question. I would hope, given all of the crazy stuff that's been going on, and uh, that it would be in favor of Biden even more than it was before.
Yeah. I wonder how you get young people to vote more. Cuz like you see this here, voters, non-voters, cuz I know that young voters always skew more.
Make just like a tax benefit, voters tax benefit. You get like
Oh,
$20
that's it.
for
That'll do it.
voting.
20 bucks will do it.
100%. Do you know how many 18-year-olds you'd have pulling up to the polls thinking they're going to
It's
get
true.
the $20 the next
That's
day?
smart. That's smart.
Joke's on you. You get it with your friggin' CERB refund at the end of the year.
Look at this. This is just crazy stuff. So this is of non-voters, 9% are 65 plus, but 27% of the actual voters are 65 plus. It's like it's not even like close. And then young voters, same thing. Like no one young is voting.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh, I don't know. I forget where I was going to go with this, but I wonder what the perspective of like the states has been over the past, or sorry, the perspective of other countries has been over the past couple weeks with all of this stuff that's going on. Like, does China, does Russia, like all of these other places see the states as like this crazy place with all of this stuff going on? Because I don't know, like, and I know it's nuts that the states is going through this now, but when I see this stuff happening in like other countries, like, oh, like political party, like radicals storm this building to do this, like I think like, holy, like this is nuts. But I think that because we're like in it and we've seen so much of it, it's become like a little bit like, oh, like what else is new?
Yeah.
Yeah, random thought there, but
Yeah, I think people are probably like people look to the US to be like, like one of like the countries in the world you can depend on, and that's done.
yeah, it's not that place anymore. Do you think Trump has a burner account?
That he's tweeting from, or that he's just like taking stuff in.
Both tweeting and taking stuff
I
in.
think he definitely has. Well, he has access to like the White House account and some of these accounts,
Oh,
but he's not
God.
allowed to tweet from them. Like if they know he's tweeting from them, he gets shut down.
Put the phone down. Not like, please.
So yeah, I don't think he has a burner account that he's tweeting from right now with like 3 followers. But I think he's definitely like on Twitter, like reading what's going on,
Oh my gosh,
just fuming that he can't tweet.
this guy's going through it right now. But the interesting thing is, I guess that as soon as his candidacy's done, he's gonna get access to all these profiles again.
Say it again. Once what?
Once he's like Biden's inaugurated
No,
in.
he's not.
Oh, he's done. I
He's
thought
done.
Oh, really? Like,
Yeah.
he got expelled.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
not even a
yeah.
suspension. He's expelled.
I think some of them said indefinitely, meaning like no timetable as to when he gets it back. I think Twitter is considered permanent. So like maybe he could do things to change their mind if he, apologizes and becomes a better person, but I don't know, it's not looking too promising.
Oh man, that's wild.
I
That's
liked
wild.
well, I told you your question that you had around can conflicting opinions drive progression in different areas of society, or is it better for there to be little dividing perspectives of nations?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think that like having the conflict and ability to see different people's opinions does drive that, progression that we want?
Yeah, I feel like maybe like there's got to be a balance. Like I feel like it's a cop out answer, but
Mhm.
like you want different opinions to a certain degree as long as you can like have a healthy conversation.
Conversation around it.
If everyone has the exact same view, that's a problem because like then things will never change. Like slavery was once legal. You need people who are, you need to be able to listen to you need to be able to have things change, right?
Yeah, listen to the other side of the coin. Yeah, no, I agree completely, especially from like a innovation
Yeah.
perspective, and just making things better. You need to have these certain things.
What do you think? Same?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But to your point, I think that the key thing there is being able to have like healthy conversations around it and not just shouting matches, and like people that are like open-minded enough to like actually hear other people's perspectives and think about it and realize that there's other people in the world, in the States, in North America, whatever, that share this opinion, so it should be valued.
Yep. what you put something around like, do Trump's tweets directly promote violence? So I can put up.
Have you seen any that actually do?
Well, it depends what you mean by like, what did you use the word directly promote violence? It's like, I guess it's, I would say no. I don't see any directly,
Mm-hmm.
but I see stuff that, I guess it depends how you use the word direct, but I see stuff that he's clearly like fueling the fire.
Right.
It's gonna result in like stuff happening, but I've never seen him tell people to like,
Do certain things, right? And I think that's like one of the big arguments of people that are like disagree with Trump getting banned is they feel like the rules and regulations on Twitter is like for the most part it should be like like you can say whatever you want, just don't like promote violence. And I think that like technically speaking, he doesn't promote it. He just so happens to, like you said, like incite it and fuel this
he's
fire.
being sneaky about it. Like he
Right.
is he is promoting it, just not like saying it blatantly, but like,
Right.
here I can share.
Mind you, I haven't seen a lot of them, so maybe there are some that are like super like questionable. The one thing that I thought was like super ironic, especially was how a couple years back, or maybe it was more recently, he was saying like people that are damaging public property because of this, like just political views will be arrested and fined like this. And like now what? Because it's your followers that are doing it, you're just completely silent about it. Like,
Yeah, it's BS.
what were some of
BS.
those tweets that you
Oh,
saw?
well, I was gonna show. So this is like Twitter's report on why they suspended him. So I can read it.
So wild.
After close review of recent tweets from Trump's account, and the context around them, specifically how they are being received and interpreted on and off Twitter, we have permanently suspended the account due to the risk of further incitement of violence. In the context of horrific events this week, we have made it clear on Wednesday that additional violations of the Twitter rules would potentially result in this very course of action. Our public interest framework exists to enable the public to hear from elected officials and world leaders directly. It is built on a principle that the people have a right to hold power to account in the open. However, we made it clear going back years that these accounts are not above our rules entirely and cannot use Twitter to incite violence, among other things.
Incite, that's the word that's important, I think.
Yeah. We will continue to be transparent around our policies and their enforcement. The below is a comprehensive analysis of our policy enforcement approach in this case.
Wow.
So this is interesting how they say exactly how they interpreted his tweets. So this is on January 8th. He tweeted these things. This was the day after the storming of the Capitol.
This is so wild that there's like they have like an actual analysis in their interpretation of what was tweeted.
Yeah.
Who does this? Who does it? Is it these lawyers, doctor? Like who does this? Who gauges these kinds of things?
I feel like it's like, Twitter's communications team being consulted by their leadership, like Jack Dorsey, their legal team. They put this together.
Wow.
So this is the day after. On January 8th, Trump tweeted, the 75 million great American patriots who voted for me, America first and make America great again, will have a giant voice in the long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. And then after that, he tweeted, to all of those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th.
Sorry to cut you off. You want to scroll up a little bit?
Yeah.
This is like beyond. He's actually like so good at just like gassing up the people that follow him.
Yeah.
And like you said, like not directly promoting things, but like just getting them excited and making them feel like, oh, like what you're doing. Like, this is crazy. The great American patriots America first, make America, like the way he like capitalizes certain things. We'll have a giant voice long into the nuts.
Nuts. And clearly, like in this 75 million, not all these people, the majority of these people probably aren't violent people, but in these 75 million were the people who stormed the Capitol, right? They were part of this, they were
Right.
in this. He's calling them all patriots. So, anyways,
Yeah.
they did their interpretation. So, due to the ongoing tensions in the US and an uptick in the global conversation in regards to the people who violently stormed the Capitol on Jan 6th. So, sorry, these tweets were 2 days later. These two tweets must be read in the context of broader events in the country and the ways in which the president's statements can be mobilized by different audiences, including to incite violence, as well as the context of the pattern of behavior from this account in recent weeks. After assessing the language in these tweets against our glorification of violence policy, we've determined that these tweets are in violation of the glorification of violence policy, and Trump should be immediately permanently suspended from the service. Okay, so we assess the two tweets under the policy, which aims to prevent the glorification of violence that could inspire others to replicate violent acts, and determined that they were highly likely to encourage and inspire people to replicate the criminal acts that took place at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. The determination is based on the following factors, including Trump's statement that he will not be attending the inauguration is being received by a number of his supporters as further confirmation that the election was not legitimate, and is seen as him disavowing his previous claim made via two tweets that there would be an orderly transition. The second tweet may also serve as encouragement to those potentially considering violent acts, that the inauguration would be a safe target because he's not attending. Pretty much like Twitter saying that, some of his supporters could interpret it that because he's not going, that they can attack the inauguration. The use of the words American patriots to describe some of his supporters is also being interpreted as support for those committing violent acts at the U.S. Capitol.
Agreed.
Agreed to, yeah. The mention of his supporters having a giant voice.
Wild. People that are reading this are probably like giant voice long into the. Honestly, this guy's a wordsmith. Like that's nuts. Like Jesus.
They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. Is being interpreted as further indication that Trump does not plan to facilitate an orderly transition, and instead that he plans to continue to support, empower, and shield those who believe he won the election. Plans for future armed protests have already become proliferating on and off Twitter, including a proposed secondary attack on the Capitol on January 17th. So we'll see what happens in a week.
That's crazy. I didn't realize that this exists. There's suspension reports. Is this put out for every user that's suspended, or is it just like big accounts that kind of get highlighted like this?
I feel like this was a big one. I don't know if they do something like this for every account that's suspended.
Yeah, they probably just get it like emailed to them. If wow. Okay. Well, you know what? Seeing like I think that was my one of my bigger reasons as to why I was like a little bit like in question as to whether or not Trump should be banned. But now that I've seen that like full analysis and like breaking down the tweets that he put out, like it makes a lot more sense. Very, very deceptive guy. I also think it's crazy how we put like the 75 million like patriots and stuff like that, because someone that's like, pro Trump and like gonna go out to Capitol and do all this crazy stuff doesn't think that they're like just 1,000 or 2,000 people. They think that it's like 75 million other people that agree with what they're saying and are you know what I mean? So it completely throws off the perception of these people. So jeez.
Did you see the video he posted to Twitter like the day that the people
that it all happened?
Capitol?
No, I didn't.
He said, "I love you. You're special people." You didn't see that? Do you hear about that?
No, I heard about it. I wasn't able to find it because it got pulled. I probably just didn't look hard enough though.
Here, let me see if I share this. Let me see if you can hear it. Can you hear?
No,
Oh,
I can't.
okay. Never mind.
It's okay. I'm gonna watch it.
It's really bad.
What's it? Wait, sorry. What was the title of that? Can you come back for 2 seconds? Was that YouTube or was that a different website?
This was on YouTube.
Okay, so I can find that on YouTube then.
Here, I'll send you the link in Zoom chat right now. But it's bad.
Hold on. This guy's wild, man. And that's the one that got pulled from Twitter pretty quickly, yeah?
I think so. But that was like in response to the attack on the Capitol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, all of this stuff is crazy. The way he addresses them and talks, that's beyond me.
But just it's it's like it just lies, right? Like, or him saying stuff like the election that was
fraudulent.
definitely stolen from us.
Mm-hmm.
He says
And the
stuff
other
like
side,
the other side knows it.
Yeah.
Like you could say stuff like if he honestly thought it was being fraudulent, he could say like we haven't been able to find any evidence yet, but I still believe there's a chance it was fraudulent, but I'm going to respect the results until I'm going to respect Biden until we find evidence otherwise. But he's not doing that. It's just like
just beating around the bush. No,
it's just lies. Like,
so all in all, well, you pro this guy getting off of Twitter and all social media platforms?
I think I'm in favor of whatever the majority of Twitter users want. I think that's what I would want.
So you think it boils down to the platform and you have democracy within the platform?
That's what I think I would like. And I would vote him off. I probably wouldn't vote permanent. Like if I could pick how much time and then like reassess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was thinking about like what's the best way to do that. I was thinking about like maybe a model like when you get locked out of your phone, first it's like a minute, then 2 minutes, it keeps doubling.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you start him at like a month.
Yeah.
And then it becomes, a year and then like 5 years. Pretty much like each time he
strikes out,
it's a
doubles
longer,
up in time.
Yeah, something like that, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I would also want people to vote on that. Like get people to vote on how long should his suspension be.
That's
like have the people speak.
They should. That's a very good point. Maybe they should have like if they do revert to maybe like a little bit more of like a public interest model, then they should have like a questionnaire that like active users that are actually on Twitter could fill out, and then that would kind of dictate like certain like rules and regulations around like users and bans and certain stuff that gets put up and this, that, and the fourth. I think my approach for that, like to your point, I think I like the platform, getting the perspective of the platform because Twitter is so much bigger than just the United States. That would, I think, like incite a little bit more fairness across the board. But in terms of bans for this specific one, I think you got to do longer than a month because I feel like the energies and like engagement of his following is still probably going to be pretty active for a little while. I think you would have to wait like maybe like a year or so for him to be able to get back on there when people have kind of accepted what's going on. Yeah. I think a month from now, if Trump was to bounce back, you'd still have people excited and this is a fraudulent ban energy flowing. Like I don't know
Yeah.
if a month is long enough.
Yeah.
But interesting. I love your takes.
Yeah, yours too.
Was
I
this
really like the idea of potentially like should there be a government owned social media platform or something like that?
a government-owned social media platform
Like should there be a Twitter that's, like by the government or something?
owned and operated by the government? I don't. Yeah.
You're
'Cause
right. Sorry, you go.
I'm not. Yeah. I don't know. I think that there would be like maybe conflicts of interests and
Yeah.
certain opinions and views that would be suppressed. So that's the one problem that I do see with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where we end up with all this stuff and if this is going to become the regular. And if it does, like I think the one thing that I thought was crazy and like I hope that after this Trump ban, maybe there's a little bit more attention on like international cases of people that might be like inciting violence or um, like in similar methods that like Trump has been doing. Like even if it doesn't, affect or impact the states, like they should at least, I don't know, maybe hire a team that starts to look into these certain things and cases to
Yeah.
help out for the greater good of more than just the states in North America.
Last question. How do you get people to believe less lies?
I think the validation. I think it's the social proof. Like there's social proofing embedded in social media. I think as soon as you get rid of like the like other people agree with this or give thumbs up to this, people begin to like question. They don't even they just naturally will seek more information and not jump into things as quickly. Like and an example of that would be you and the reviews, like product reviews, or if you're trying to find a tutorial on what to do, if you see a video that has a bunch of likes, you're probably going to like skim through it really quickly. Whereas if you see something that doesn't, then you're going to be like, maybe I should keep looking for something, you know what I mean? Or go to like a more reliable source. So I think that's the way on social media is to just get rid of social proofing
Likes.
and that
Yeah.
validation. Hopefully
I like
we
that.
get to that point. That would be sick and would probably drive a lot of people that have crazy followings less crazy in the long
Yeah.
term, be better for
Yeah.
their mental health, because I think it takes a toll on people like Trump especially.
All right. I'll see if there's any social platforms out there without social proofing, without likes and stuff. Maybe I'll start going on those.
Jump on there.
Better for my mental health.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks for the talk as always.
Yeah, no worries, I got you covered. Is this the first one of the new year?
Yeah, it is.
Let's go.
First one of 2021.
2021 getting kicked off nicely. All right, man, thanks for the
Thanks,
time.
man.
I'll
Yeah,
talk to you later.
anytime. See ya.
Peace.
Bye.